A few interesting matchups here, people. You've got Stevenson, the WBC light heavyweight champion, against Alexander Gvozdyk, his mandatory challenger. Oscar Rivas against Bryant Jennings, and Artur Beterbiev against Callum Johnson. Now, we'll talk about the Johnson fight in a bit in terms of how interesting that is. I mean, it's interesting because we don't know how good Johnson is at world level. Most people were not expecting much from that fight. But the other two fights, certainly, most people will be interested in. Now, here it says that Oscar Rivas, who I believe is promoted by Yvon Michel, he's certainly based in Canada. Oscar Rivas is a Colombian, I think he's Colombian, heavyweight, undefeated, 24-0, 17 KOs. And he's received an offer to face Bryant Jennings. That's a decent fight right there, Oscar Rivas versus Jennings. I think Jennings should have the advantage. Oscar Rivas is a big puncher. He does have some amateur pedigree, certainly more than Jennings does. A pretty short heavyweight, is about 6 feet tall, very heavy, maybe 240, 250. But in shape at that kind of weight, although I think he's got too much muscle on him. Anyway, taking on Bryant Jennings, who I think is improving from a technical point of view, and he's always been a good athlete. Let's see if Oscar Rivas accepts the fight. I hope he does, and maybe they can get that fight on in Canada. Should be an interesting one. Another potential fight here, and just before I go into that, actually, it says Rivas Jennings would be part of a top-ranked promoted card on August 18th. So that's when the fight would likely be at the Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City. Then there is the, where is it now? Stevenson Gvozdyk fight. Gvozdyk is Stevenson's mandatory challenger. And there's a purse bid for Stevenson Gvozdyk apparently next week. Well, it says here July 2nd, right? So July 2nd is the purse bid for Stevenson Gvozdyk. Hopefully that fight goes ahead. If they're not going to have the Beterbiev rematch, the Gvozdyk fight is great. And that could be a changing of the guard fight right there. I'd be interested to see what the betting line is, because Stevenson showed his age in his last fight against Beterbiev, and there are going to be a lot of people who believe that Gvozdyk will be ending Stevenson's run as WBC light heavyweight champion. So anyway, that purse bid is on July 2nd. We'll see what happens there and if that fight goes ahead. And then finally, there is the Beterbiev Johnson fight, and purse bid for that is June 26th. Now, why this is interesting, for me anyway, Beterbiev Johnson, is what's going on with Beterbiev's promotional situation, because he's tried to break away from his promoter Yvon Michel and join Top Rank, but he lost in the court recently. The court ruled in favor of his promoter Yvon Michel, so it would seem that he's not able to join Top Rank. And then it begs the question, who's actually going to promote Beterbiev versus Johnson? Will that fight even go ahead? Because Beterbiev has filed some type of appeal with the court against their decision to uphold his contract with Yvon Michel, because he's now, due to the court's ruling, tied to Yvon Michel under a promotional contract until I think 2021 or something like that, for another 3 years. So he's putting an appeal. And with all that going on, is it even possible that he would fight on an Yvon Michel card against Johnson in his next? I mean, I don't know. It's a very, very strange situation. One thing that Eddie Hearn recently said in an interview about this particular fight, Beterbiev versus Johnson, is that if the only way Beterbiev can fight outside of Canada, I think he said, or something like that, is if it goes to a purse bid. Now, if it goes to a purse bid and Eddie Hearn wins the purse bid, okay, for Beterbiev Johnson, because Eddie Hearn is the promoter of Johnson. If it goes to a purse bid, Eddie Hearn might be able to put this fight on DAZN, for example. Yeah, you could put it on DAZN, or he could take the fight to the UK, as unlikely as that would be, because Johnson is not a big name in the UK. Maybe put it on the UK in an undercard somewhere. I don't know. I mean, Some people would be talking about. In fact, no, there's not enough time to put it on the Dylan White undercard. But still, and in fact, would there be? Maybe there would be. If both guys are in training now, maybe there is enough time to put it on a Dylan White undercard. But still, you would think it's unlikely to go on there. But if Eddie Hearn does win the purse bid, that will allow Beterbiev to fight on a show which isn't an Yvonne Michelle show, which I'm sure is what he would prefer at this point, particularly if it's on DAZN, because Eddie Hearn is paying out big money for a lot of fighters who are not used to getting big money. Eddie Hearn says he's overpaying fighters actually on DAZN. So maybe that's a way for Artur Beterbiev to be free of the clutches of Yvonne Michelle for at least one fight, and he probably like that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all these fights: Beterbiev Johnson, Stevenson Gvozdyk, and Jennings versus Rivas. All right, let me know how you feel, people. How are these fights going to go? Obviously, 99.9% of us expect Beterbiev to beat Johnson. It's just where the fight's going to happen and how Beterbiev looks. Stevenson Gvozdyk, you have to lean towards Gvozdyk a bit now after Stevenson's last performance. But it wasn't so long ago that Gvozdyk found himself on the floor and badly hurt. There was some guy who Stevenson knocked out easily that Gvozdyk got floored by. The guy who beat Chad Dawson as well. I can't remember the guy's name. He's a southpaw. He's a white guy from America. His name escapes me at the moment. You guys know who I'm talking about. He dropped Gvozdyk badly in the first round when they fought a year or two ago. So there are still some questions over Gvozdyk's chin. And if a guy like that, Tommy Karpensi, that's his name. See, it came to me. If Tommy Karpensi is dropping you and hurting you that badly, you certainly don't want to get tagged by a left hand from Stevenson. And if Stevenson was able to beat Gvozdyk and do so in convincing fashion, that would be some redemption. That would make people believe in his ability again. That would rekindle their belief in him. Because I think a lot of people have kind of lost faith in Stevenson after that Badou Jack fight, in terms of age catching up with him and all that type of stuff. So yeah, that one's going to be interesting. A lot of us are going to be tuning in, wondering who's going to win. And Jennings Rivas also, I think, is a good fight. So yeah, what's going to happen in those matchups, people? Let me know in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out.